Oh, here. The 2019 Hopkinton Annual Town Meeting will come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and let's observe a moment of silence for those town employees and volunteers who have passed away since our last town meeting. As we get started, please be sure that you have a copy of the handouts which have been provided in the corridor outside of the auditorium. Counters within the hall have been assigned under the direction of our Deputy Town Moderator, Ellen Rutter. And I'll take a moment at this point to call for an affirmation of Ellen serving this town meeting as Deputy once again. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Rules of the meeting, bounds of the hall. Non-voters should have a paper pass and be seated on the first few rows on stage right. Media members sit in the first row center. Please, no standing in the aisles during the meeting other than to address the meeting. Eating and smoking are not permitted in the hall, and please mute your cell phones. Only registered voters are entitled to sit in the voting areas of the auditorium. Exceptions are limited to town council and to those town employees who are participating in the meeting. Anyone who wants to speak should rise, come to a microphone, and ask to be recognized by the moderator. When recognized, please state your name and street address. Be clear in stating your position. Keep your comments brief and on point. Rambling and unfocused discussion will fall on deaf ears. Only those who are recognized by the moderator can speak, and they should stop when asked by the moderator. The speakers making opening presentations on the major budget articles will have 10 minutes each to speak. Other article sponsors will have three minutes to make their presentations. Other speakers in the audience will have 2 minutes, unless the moderator allows an extension of time. A speaker may have a second opportunity to speak only when all others have had a chance to enter the discussion. Any and all discussion must be directed strictly to the article that is under consideration. All questions go through the moderator, and we do not allow debating. Please do not stand other than to address the moderator or to vote when called upon. If you are proposing an amendment, you must state it at a microphone. It must be written legibly and presented both to the amendment desk at the back of the hall so that it can be displayed on the screen and to the moderator. Please be respectful of meeting members' time and have your written amendment ready as quickly as possible. Finally, remember that we are neighbors before the meeting and will continue to be neighbors after the meeting. We are here participating for the betterment of our town. Let's maintain our civility and keep our minds open to persuasion. Contrary viewpoints strengthen our understanding of the items before us, and debate will enrich us, and through our discussions, we will find the best course of action for the town. We are now ready to start the meeting. I call on our town clerk, Connor Degan, to come forward for the call and return of the warrant.
Greetings. To the constables of the town of Hopkinton, in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby required to notify and warn all inhabitants of the town of Hopkinton qualified to vote in elections and in town affairs of the annual town meeting warrant this day, Monday, May 6th, 2019. Hereof fail not, and make the due return of this warrant, with your doings thereon to the clerk of said town of Hopkinton, at the time and place aforesaid, given under our hands this 6th day of May, 2019.
Thank you, Connor. I now call on Claire Wright, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, for a motion on the customary procedures relating to the time of this evening's meeting.
Over there. I would recommend that we adjourn the meeting at 11 p.m. or at the conclusion of the article leading into that hour.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it's unanimous.
Mr. Moderator, I also have a recommendation on the ordering of two of the articles. Is now the appropriate time?
Yes, it is.
I would recommend that Article 53 concerning the Kalala Farm Road sewer be taken after Article 22, the Sewer Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, because these articles are somewhat related.
Okay. Is there any discussion relating to the movement of that Article 53 to follow Article 52? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving Article 53? After 22,
I'm
excuse
sorry,
me.
for 22.
Article 53 after Article 22. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Does anyone else have any change in order to propose with respect to the warrant articles? Okay, seeing none, then we will move to Article 1, acceptance of town reports. Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen recommends approval, and we move that the town accept the reports of the town officers, boards, and committees.
Okay. There are several boards that would like to make short presentations, and we'll start with the Board of Health. Lisa Whittemore.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Lisa Whittemore. I am currently serve as the chair of the Board of Health. I'd like to take a few moments to share with the town some of the accomplishments that the Board of Health has made over the last year. None of these would be possible without the amazing group of employees within the department. Sean McAuliffe, the director, Nadia Roberti-LaRoche, the administrative support, Brian Besso, the health agent. We are also supported by some contract employees who manage specific programs. We passed a ban on plastic bags that is modeled on the bill that is currently in the state legislature. We increased the age of buying vaping products to 21 and banned the sale of products that are flavored. Our health director, Sean McAuliffe, has partnered with the schools and the Youth and Family Services to create a best-in-class harm reduction model in our schools to support students who are using nicotine-based materials and ensuring that they receive education and, as appropriate, get into treatment quickly. Hopkinton has been recognized by the State Department of Public Health as a model for other towns in the Commonwealth. Sean has also partnered with UMass to develop a program that supports testing of ticks to reduce the spread of tick-borne illness in the community. He has been asked to speak at multiple venues to report in the program that started here. Hopkinton is a tick town. As residents, you have access to testing of any ticks you find on yourself or your children for a reduced fee of $15. We have recently, in collaboration with the Fire Department, Police Department, and Senior Center, entered into a contract with ClearPath, who will provide services to our residents who struggle with maintaining their homes and need support to declutter. The Board of Health has also continued to do our day-to-day business, working with the staff to update the regulations, manage Title V related business, conduct hearings on tobacco sales violations, and develop a strategic plan to help us move forward over the coming year. I'd like to acknowledge my fellow board members, Mike King, Vice Chair, and Jennifer Flanagan, who is finishing her 3-year term. We look forward to continue to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Now I'd like to call on the representative from the Volunteer Recognition Committee, Bob Levinson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Bob Levinson. I'm at 13 Smith Road. And on behalf of the members of the Volunteer Recognition Group, which is Dottie Ferreter-Wallace, Gene Birchman, and Rick Flannery, I'd like to inform my fellow citizens here in Hopkinton about a process we now have for recognizing the substantial amount of volunteering that happens in the community. We now have a formal way to do this, and it's pretty simple, and we encourage you all to try this. If there is someone you feel who has made significant accomplishments and or has sustained involvement as an unpaid, a true volunteer for the town, something they've done over time that adds to the quality of life here in Hopkinton, we ask you to go to the town's website and look for the form that's out there prominently. It says Volunteer Recognition Nomination Form. Take you about 2 minutes to fill it out. And once you do, it'll be submitted, and all forms will be reviewed by our group along with a group of town officials, and any nomination that's approved will be forwarded to the Board of Selectmen for formal public recognition. This is open to all town residents and out-of-towners who volunteer for in-town groups and or activities. To date, 63 of your fellow Hopkinton citizens have been recognized by the Board of Selectmen. All honorees are listed on the town website and archived there, and we urge you to take a few minutes and use this method to thank your fellow citizens for the wonderful amount of volunteering to make Hopkinton what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Now I call on Gene Birchman to speak to the top of the hill.
Thank you. I'm Jean Birchman, and I'm here representing the Top of the Hill Committee, which includes representation from the Hopkinton PTA, the Hopkinton HEF, the Chamber of Commerce, the Hopkinton administration, staff, and students. The Hopkinton Top of the Hill nomination program started in 2015 and recognizes Hopkinton High School or Keith Tech alumni who graduated at least 10 years ago and who have demonstrated a high level of achievement and made significant contributions to work, home, community, or volunteer efforts. We have 2 invitations for you tonight. One is that you will find these nomination forms on the tables in the hall, and we invite you to nominate anybody that you think is worthy of this recommendation, this recognition. The deadline is May 31st. And then I also would like to invite all of you to come to the next induction ceremony, which will be November 26th at the high school. Honorees will be invited back to spend the day in the high school speaking with students and sharing their experience and learning what it's like to be a high school student in 2019. So I just wanted to end with telling you who the 17 honorees have been so far. Many of them are in this room, so if they're not too shy to wave or stand up, we can see that they're here. In 2015, we inducted Paul Phipps, Mary Harrington, Tom McIntyre, Denise Millard, Megan Fennelly Altador, and Sean Terry. In 2016, we inducted George Brown, Walter Brown, Fred Harris, Mike Shepard, Kelly Grill, Sonny Bevel, and Libby McDonald Bischoff. And in 2017, we inducted Mike Whalen, Scotty Mackin, Josh Hanna, and Sarah Ellum. So thank you very much, and please, please nominate people for this great honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And the final presentation under Article 1 is by Joe Markey, the Marathon School Building Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and also Rebecca Roback from the Appropriation Committee, who also has been serving on the Marathon Elementary School Building Committee, is going to join me. Thank you. So you should see a slide up here in a moment showing a picture of the school and then some highlights of the numbers. Do we have that up there? The committee asked us to give this update because over the past several years, town meeting has been very instrumental in the success of this project. So the school opened in September 2018, and we want to report back on the financial status of the project and the enrollment figures. So thank you all who participated in prior votes in 2015 and 16 to make this project possible, and again in early 2017. Shown here in the total amount budgeted is a $47 million figure. That includes the land purchase. It includes the additional 1.5 for the 4 additional classrooms that we incorporated when the enrollment figures proved it necessary. And of that, we've spent most of and project by the end of the project, we're kind of at that long tail end of the invoices rolling in, that we will have spent $43 million of that. That means that overall, the amount that you appropriated turned out we spent $4 million less than that. So we're not returning a check to you, but what it means is that the town will not have to borrow as much as you had once authorized the town to borrow. So I want to thank the whole committee for that. We had a great project team. The economic conditions were favorable when you did the bid process. The committee and the project manager were helpful in kind of fine-tuning the project, and that's what kept us $4 million under. So great kudos to the team. How much has the state contributed? As you recall, this project was run through the Massachusetts School Building Authority. They have promised a grant at the beginning of this. They said they'd help contribute up to $14 million to date. And again, we haven't processed all the final invoices yet, but to date, they've reimbursed already $13 million of that. That represents, to the total project costs, including the land purchase, the full number of classrooms, above 30% contribution from the state. So we thank the state for their help and contribution financially. There's also been a lot of talk about growth in the community, and I'm here to provide facts and figures to guide those conversations. The K through 1 enrollment during the final year at Center School was 473 students. This year, as of May 1st, 2019, currently at Marathon School, K and 1 enrollment is 504 students. So we have seen some increase. The average class size as of May 1st, 2019 for kindergarten is 21, and for first grade is 19. So again, those are some of the key figures that we're happy to report back to town meeting. There's been a number of people that contributed. I especially want to thank Mike Shepard, John Weaver, Rob Nickerson, who along with myself serves as the core team. We also had help from a number of people like Rebecca from appropriations and her predecessor, and the school committee and other committees and staff in town. So thank you for your help.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, members of the committee. Okay, I think we're ready for a vote on Article 1. All those in favor of accepting the town reports of town officers, boards, and committees signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Article 2, Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
Mr. Manning, appropriations.
So Article 2, we move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, this is 2019 supplemental appropriations and transfers, and we have a transfer basically for snow and ice, which is for 2019, which is $525,000 from certified free cash, and then there's a funding source for the enterprise fund to replace certified earnings, which is $70,000 to the sewer enterprise fund.
Are there any questions? Okay, seeing no questions, then all those in favor of Article 2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous and so voted. Article 3, unpaid bills from previous fiscal years. And Board of Selectmen
Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
and Mr. Manning.
We move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, this is, we had some previous unpaid bills from previous years, totaling $2,352.32. And this is from free cash that we'll be paying for this.
Any questions on this article? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous and so voted. Article 4, property tax exemption increase. Board of Selectmen
The Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
and Mr. Manning again.
So Article 4, property tax exemption increase, we move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, this is a property tax increase for basically older citizens. This is an ongoing, we've been doing this for the last couple of years. Basically this, and this is a little bit different, that it says for all fiscal years beginning July 1st, and essentially this can be ongoing, so we don't have to vote this article every single year.
Are there any questions on this article? Well, swallow it. Okay.
Mr. Moderator, Russ Grieve, 24 Nicholas Road. What is the tax effect of this? It's going to be an ongoing year to year, I understand. So is this like a 10,000, 20,000, 40,000? What is it? And there's a number of, the rest of these 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 all seem to me have effects on the taxes. And my question is, some of this has to be offset, doesn't it? Doesn't a lot of this stuff have to be offset to the rest of the taxpayers as opposed to what's given to veterans or any of the others?
Mr. Manning?
I'll defer the answer to that to our CFO, Tim O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Sir, there's no impact, no additional impact this year. This keeps in place the exemptions that were in place last year. The exemption amount is a modest amount, for example, for a blind homeowner.
I understand that. I meant in collective.
Okay,
If there was 100 or 200 people who qualify for these and they each get $1,000.
Sure, let me tell you exactly what it is. We have 70 people who qualify, and the total exemption in 2019 was $79,992.81, and it will be unimpacted by this motion for the next year. If you vote no, that amount would drop by 3/7 to $37,409.
Thank you. And will you have figures for all the other?
Yes, sir.
Because some of these are going to be new, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Stevenson, 18 Hayden Row. I just wanted to have you clarify. You said an increase, but you meant a decrease. Is that correct?
Go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I think the easiest way to understand it is that it's a base exemption and an additional 0.75 exemptions. Those are reductions in people's taxes for the people who apply. So you're correct. It's a decrease for those people. And the former speaker was also correct. When the tax rates are set and the tax bills go out, this reduction results in every other property owner getting a very fractionally smaller increase. So these people get a modest decrease. Everyone else gets a slight increase.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then we're ready for a vote. All those in favor of Article 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Article 5, the Brave Act. Board of Selectmen
Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
and Mr. Manning.
Article 5, Brave Act. We move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, this is an abatement for seniors, and this is a tax law that increases to limited property tax exemptions that are available to seniors, surviving spouses, and minor children with deceased parents, with the exemptions having a limit on the assets of the taxpayer.
Any questions on this article? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Article 6, Brave Act, continued. Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
And Mr. Manning.
Article 6, the Brave Act. We move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, this is real estate exemption for veterans and other qualified persons where their home is owned by a trust, considered a fiduciary for the person's benefit. And this provides limited exemptions for disabled veterans, Purple Heart recipients, and the surviving spouses of parents of service members killed in combat. To get exemptions, the property has to be titled in taxpayer's name. The article would allow these homeowners to get the exemption if they titled their home in a trust, as some people do.
Any questions on this article? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Article 7, Brave Act, continued again. Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
And Mr. Manning.
Article 7, the Brave Act. We move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, there is a current limited exemption for the parents of service members killed in combat. This provision would create a complete exemption from real estate property tax for those parents.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous and so voted. Article 8, Brave Act, once again. Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
And Mr. Manning.
Article 8, Brave Act. We move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and motions document. Essentially, this creates a program similar to the Senior Volunteer Service Tax Credit Program.
Any discussion? And again, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's unanimous. Article 9, set the salary of elected officials. Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
Mr. Manning.
The Appropriation Committee recommends approval.
And can we get a little explanation of to whom this applies?
This is the town clerk only. This motion is the Board of Selectmen.
And the Board of Selectmen recommends the motion as written in the motions and articles document.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it's unanimous. And now we will slow down a little bit. Fiscal 2020 operating budget. Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen recommends approval.
Mr. Manning, on the town side. We move the motion as printed in the warrant articles and in the warrant articles and motions document. Okay, good evening. My name is Michael Manning, and I am